It's me, Doc.
So, Animal Regeneration by Aaliyah Brown. Regeneration is the ability of an organism to regrow a lost body part. All creatures have the power to regenerate lost body parts to some degree. If a human scrapes a knee or breaks a bone, for example, tissue is regenerated to heal the wound. Even a lost fingernail will regenerate over time. If the finger is severed, however, the limits of regeneration have been reached. Humans cannot regrow limbs or organs. In contrast, if an earthworm is cut in half, the end of the worm with a head can grow a new tail. If the end of the worm with the tail survives, it too may grow a new tail. Unfortunately, it starves to death eventually because it cannot feed itself without a head or mouth. Okay, so I'm getting lots of scientific information. At this point, it's really clear to everybody that this is a nonfiction text. So I'm going to go ahead and make a quick track changes note about that. I see here from the introductory sentence, regeneration is the ability of an organism to regrow a lost body part. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that, and I'm going to make another quick note. This paragraph is mostly about the definition of regeneration. In addition to getting the definition of regeneration, we also get a kind of juxtaposition, which means the same thing as contrast between human regeneration and animal regeneration. I can already tell at this point what the topic is going to be. The topic is going to be specifically about animal regeneration. So at this point, we know that it's nonfiction. We know our topic is animal regeneration. And so we are going to abide by the practice that we always do, which is we're constantly going to read each paragraph. We're going to take down a gist, a really brief gist for each paragraph, and summarize exactly how that paragraph speaks back to the topic. Which creatures have strong regenerative powers? Lower animals such as worms, lizards, spiders, and starfish have some of the greatest regenerative powers. Crayfish, for example, have a remarkable safety device at the base of each claw and leg called a breaking joint. When a predator grabs a limb or claw, the appendage breaks away so the crayfish can escape. Over time, as the crayfish molts or sheds its soft shell, the broken limb or pincher grows larger until it has been completely regenerated. That's pretty cool. So let's go back and make sure we understand what the point of this specific paragraph is and how it relates to the topic. Lower animals such as worms, lizards, and spiders and starfish have some of the greatest regenerative powers. So based upon this first sentence right here, this kind of topic sentence, I know that this is primarily going to be focused exactly on lower animals. Some animals are able to survive in large part because of their regenerative powers. A type of flatworm called planaria lives under rocks in clear creeks and streams. The flatworm has no real defense mechanisms to protect it from predators, but it can be cut into as many as 32 pieces, and each piece may form a new worm, complete with head, eyes, and internal organs. In the case of the planaria, an event that could be fatal is turned into an awesome procreative act. So some animals are able to survive in large part because of their regenerative powers. Okay, so I can already tell from the topic sentence that this is primarily going to be about how some animals can use regenerative powers in order to survive. So this is about survival. That's primarily survival, and I can qualify that a little bit. Survival using regeneration. And the specific example of an animal that uses regeneration to survive is the planaria, which is a kind of flatworm. So I'll want to mark that. Pretty cool detail here. It can be cut into as many as 32 pieces, and each piece can kind of function as a separate animal, which is pretty dope. All right. Many more animals display noteworthy regenerative powers. Sharks replace lost teeth throughout their lifetimes. A single shark may grow as many as 24,000 teeth in its lifetime, ensuring a long career at the top of the food chain. Much like Planera, sea cucumbers, which have bodies that grow up to 3 feet long, can be cut into pieces and survive. Each piece may grow into a new sea cucumber. Spiders, like crayfish, can regrow legs. Many lizards also have breakaway tails that snap off when caught by predators. They then grow new ones, which lack the original spine. Starfish can lose arms and grow new ones. Sometimes an entirely new starfish can grow from a single lost arm. Okay, so the first place I'm going to check again here for the gist is my topic sentence. Many more animals display noteworthy regenerative powers. So this is just kind of like we're going to get a list of other noteworthy regenerative powers that, you know, are worth mentioning. Other animals with noteworthy regenerative power. Moving on to the next paragraph, let's figure out the point of this paragraph and how it connects to the topic, which is animal regeneration. So interestingly enough, the scales of a fish tell stories about regeneration. Much like the rings inside a tree trunk, fish scales reveal details about an organism's past. Each scale lies in a pocket of skin and grows along with the fish. Scientists read the markings on a scale to determine the age of the fish, seasons of famine or drought, and other important information. It's often necessary to look at many scales to get a complete story. However, because scales are often lost and regenerated, these new scales lack the markings that happen over time. They're like a blank page in the history of the fish. Okay, so as somebody who does literary analysis, this is a pretty cool little paragraph. So this is about how fish scales regenerate similar to the sort of rings on a tree. So you can tell the age of a fish by looking at their fish scales. So my note is fish scales that regenerate. The reason I said this was kind of cool for somebody who does literary analysis is, according to this paragraph, the scales work like blank pages. So this is, you know, not a metaphor, but this is a simile because it uses like. So they are like a blank page. That's a simile. And they are like a blank page because every time the fish regenerates a new scale, it gets written on, and it's, you know, written on by its environment. And scientists can determine things like age, seasons of famine or drought, and other important information by reading those fish scales that function like the blank page of a piece of paper. So that's kind of this text is mostly filled with just sort of literal language, but this is one of those moments where we get kind of a glimpse into how figurative language works here. By using the literary technique of simile, the author is able to compare the scales on the fish to a blank page of paper. Scientists are extremely interested in regeneration because of the possible implications for healing humans.
Oh, wow.
Cool your pits. They're growing back.
Some scientists think it's possible that higher animals retain the ability to regenerate body parts, but that the reaction triggering the body to regenerate has been lost. By studying lower animals such as worms, spiders, and sponges, scientists hope to deliver what triggers regeneration. The dream is that this knowledge could one day be used to help humans regrow internal organs and limbs. Currently, human regeneration may sound like something out of a science fiction movie. The implications of such a discovery, however, would be far-reaching, so far-reaching that they are hard to fathom. For now, the miracle of regeneration is intriguing enough to keep scientists working for years to come.
Finally, we can focus on regrowing your hands.
So we go back to our topic sentence to see if it helps us understand the gist of this paragraph and how it connects to the topic. Scientists are extremely interested in regeneration because of the possible implications for healing humans. So this is really about how scientists are studying regeneration in hopes that it can help humans. So that's going to be my brief gist note. That's how this connects to the topic. Got it. So now I'm going to need to write my central idea, and just for the sake of time, I'm going to be brief. I know that the steps for me to write a central idea would just for me to go back and read the gist note that I took for each paragraph and kind of figure out, okay, what's the main idea from the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I'm going to just know that you guys sort of did that step, and I'm going to take down my central idea statement real quick. So for my central idea, I know that all animals have some ability to regenerate. Some lower animals, like lizards, spiders, and starfish, have really impressive regenerative capabilities, and scientists study these lower animals in hopes of being able to find ways to help humans. So, number one, what is the meaning of procreation as it is used in paragraph 3 of the passage? I know we're specifically looking at the word procreation in paragraph 3. I don't want to look at my options just yet because I want to answer it for myself before I even look at it. I'm going to go back up to paragraph 3, and I know I'm looking for procreation. Here's the word right here. I'm going to remind myself, what's this paragraph mostly about? Okay, this is about the animals that use survival, or use regeneration for survival. Flatworm has no real defense mechanisms to protect it from predators, but it can be cut into as many as 32 pieces. Each piece can form a new worm complete with head, eyes, and internal organs. That's crazy. In the case of the Planera, an event that could be fatal is turned into an awesome act of procreation. So if I don't know what procreation means, I know that procreation refers to the thing that the flatworm can do. And the thing that the flatworm can do is it can be cut into as many as 32 pieces, and each piece will function as a separate new worm with head and eyes and everything, which is crazy. So procreation must mean something that has to do with the worm being split up into different pieces that then turn into like its own thing, like turn into its own independent worms. So it can procreate, it can make more of itself if it's cut into pieces. Okay, great. So now I've defined it for myself, and I'm going to see if any of my answers match what's available. A survival. Yeah, that's what my gist note was about. That paragraph is mostly about survival, but is that what procreation refers to? Possibly. Repetition. Well, the worm does repeat, so already I've got two kind of potential, sort of question mark. Cooperation. No, that's not right at all. Reproduction. So to me, survival makes sense, repetition kind of makes sense, but reproduction is definitely the best answer. And it may be even possible that we already know that the word procreate can sometimes be referred to making babies. But in this sense, it's not like, mommy and daddy are making a baby, but it's like the worm is being cut into lots of pieces, and as a result of that, it's reproducing itself into lots of little worms. So survival makes kind of sense, repetition makes a little bit less sense, cooperation makes no sense at all, but reproduction is definitely going to be my answer. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining me